Welcome to the Nairobi Arbitration Week 2025, a pivotal event exploring the crucial intersection of arbitration and sustainability in Africa and beyond. Over 5 days, leaders, practitioners, and scholars gathered to discuss the evolving landscape of dispute resolution in a rapidly changing world. The crucial theme: arbitrating in the age of sustainability. The week kicked off with powerful keynote addresses, setting the tone for the critical discussions ahead.
Today, we stand at a pivotal moment where sustainability is not just a goal, but a necessity for ensuring lasting economic and environmental prosperity. The NIFC is not just about financial markets. It is a key enabler of Kenya's economic and social transformation. We aim to attract large pools of capital in targeted cumulative investments. We have prioritized 4 key areas: green finance, fintech, investment funds, and creating conditions for multinationals. The Nairobi International Financial Center is ready to partner and is happy to be with the NCIA this week, to partner, to innovate, and to lead a charge in making Kenya the continent's green finance capital.
Arbitration is one of the institutions that was handed to us by previous generation that unquestionably had embraced it as the best mechanism for resolving disputes. It is now our duty, all of us who are here, to grow its significance and enhance it in every possible way. I strongly believe that we owe it to the next generation to hand over to them what they will endear and hold for future generation. And so that makes sense for why we have the theme arbitrating in the age of sustainability.
For us who are present here, when we say that arbitration is a calling, and we're talking about arbitration in the age of sustainability, I do believe that we have a great opportunity to exchange ideas where we're going to be asking the difficult, the challenging questions. That is where you're going to be thinking through what you're going to be determining for the people who come before you. And in every case, no matter how small, we remember, because we're talking about sustainability, we do need to think about the impact that it is going to have on not only the parties before you, but also those who are also going to be affected by the decision.
It's really important then to understand what that significant constituency of a younger population means for the future of dispute resolution. There is a large growing creative economy as well. So we are a creative economic hub, a growing economic hub, a growing digital hub. I think you will note that several of the big players in the digital sector have a foothold in Nairobi and certainly on the continent. So very important to pay attention to where commerce is moving, intra-African trade as well through the AfCFTA, the African Free Continental Trade Agreement, providing opportunities. So time to start paying attention then to the protocols in that agreement, including the protocol on dispute resolution, which favors arbitration as a dispute resolution process, and then party autonomy and efficiency within the AfCFTA dispute resolution process.
Approaches to dispute resolution, including arbitration, must adopt to address the environmental concerns and corporate social responsibility to pave way for a greener and more responsible future. We must leverage an arbitration not just as a tool for resolving disputes, but as a mechanism that would actively contribute to sustainable progress, complementing government regulatory efforts in promoting environmental justice and sustainable economic policies.
Monday delved deep into the intersection of arbitration and the environment, exploring sustainable practices and the challenges of green growth.
So say in 2018, in our 2018 rules, we expressly included something to encourage the effective use of technology. In our 2024 rules, we included express reference to environmental impact. So there is a clause which says that arbitral tribunals should take into account environmental impact when considering the procedures for arbitral proceedings.
It's clear that green arbitration is not just altruistic. It is good business sense, and green arbitration is increasingly delivering measurable return on investment. I think leveraging this sort of concept of strategic physicality is really important. So, identifying the in-person interactions in arbitration that genuinely create value and eliminating those interactions and expenses that don't.
So that an investor must know that when they're investing in a host country, environment now has become a very powerful issue. Investors must be careful that in the modern world, environmental considerations, social considerations, and governance issues dictate the protection that can be given to investments that are put in host countries.
The argument or the school of thought that why should the world's biggest polluters be allowed to simply continue polluting simply because they can buy carbon credits elsewhere in the world? This debate brings to bear the need to ensure that actual carbon reductions or emissions are taking place.
The Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is probably one of the only agreements that is applicable in African countries that has expressed obligations for green growth insofar as investors are concerned. And if most of you are aware, it's the genesis of those obligations being expressly put in that trade agreement was because there was a bit of general discontent with the existing BITs. And this was mainly because states felt that there was a regulatory chill. Basically, any time that they tried to uphold sustainable or environmental policies, which then impacted on the profitability of an investment, they would find themselves in an international tribunal paying huge compensation awards. And also just the structure of the BITs and ISD in general was such that there was a bit of an imbalance, a lot of imbalance, obviously, where the state had many obligations and investors had almost no obligations, including obligations to uphold some sustainability or environmental protection principles.
The conversation shifted towards the technological revolution impacting arbitration and the complex disputes emerging in the energy sector.
Blockchain is a cutting-edge technology that uses distributed data structures to essentially have a distributed ledger, a decentralized ledger that records transactions. Some of the key benefits that have drawn people towards blockchain technology is that it's decentralized, so there's no control over this ledger, and so that kind of enables a greater sense of democratization of these transactions that is going on.
Smart contracts are simply defined, they are self-executing computer programs with the terms of the agreement written directly into code. And they run on the blockchain and they execute automatically upon predefined conditions being met.
But if I can, for instance, have like the glasses that you are seeing me put on, and it would be able to facially identify the faces and basically alert it to my attention that so-and-so is in the room, suddenly I've got more context than somebody that does not leverage such technology.
AI tools can support in that process in reviewing the profiles of arbitrators, providing an assessment, and then helping the parties to make a decision on arbitrators. You have the documents themselves to analyze and perhaps get an understanding of what are some of the precedents around this space and what's the possibility of success of the case. Similarly, AI tools can be used to review this documentation. We've seen it in the merger and acquisition space. It's really good at reviewing multiple documents that would take a human a much longer time to do.
The regulatory framework actually enables energy transition, and especially the aspect of renewable energy. So to that effect, you find that the government of Kenya actually has a statutory mandate under Section 9 and 10 to deliver energy access and also ensure that we take care of sustainability. So ours as a regulator is actually to enable that on behalf of the government. And of course, as we do that, you're expected to ensure that you're able to balance the several interests which come into place. And this is from the perspective of consumer access to energy, consumer protection aspects, and of course, importantly, to also ensure sustainability on the side of the licensees.
Resource-rich African countries should not think of a wholesome energy transition. resource-rich African countries, because Africa, we are very rich, so we shouldn't even be there asking other countries to come and save us. Let us utilize the oil and gas in a sustainable manner. Let us utilize the extractive industries, the minerals, every resource we have on the continent. Let us utilize it. Let us get the revenue from those resources to finance our net zero. That is the only solution.
Africa is home to millions, over 900, who are not access to electricity. That means the quality of life of the African people still is below par. And therefore, even as we transition, we must first of all look at the affairs of the African people, whether we need to first of all get access to this energy, and then we talk about transition.
Thursday marked the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators Kenya branch's 9th international conference, focusing on the path to sustainability in practice, ethics, and the crucial relationship with the judiciary.
The single distinguishing element and factor is the judiciary, the court decision-making process in relation to arbitration. I think one of the most important elements that define the choice of a seat or perception of arbitration in Africa is the independence of the judiciary. That is the key element.
Arbitration as a free-fund mechanism for commercial dispute resolution must integrate sustainable practices to reduce its environmental footprint. This entails minimizing reliance on physical documentation, encouraging electronic filing, and utilizing virtual hearings to curtail unnecessary travel. Sustainable arbitration requires a recalibration of our approaches. Arbitrators must embrace case management principles that prioritize efficiency and balances fairness and affordability.
I personally would take the view that we should have universal standards. The best enforcement of arbitration ethics occurs because of peer review. I'm sure everybody in the room is aware about the argument that there is over-interference with arbitration, and I worry sometimes that there is under-interference. It is hard to imagine that the courts should allow what is a clear and evident illegality to remain on the face of any legal proceeding. So I think that partnership must be kept alive. Out there, the consideration or the comparison is always between London and Africa, or it will be between Paris and Africa, or it will be between any other, Singapore and Africa. So that Africa is taken as one big country. Fees has become a very big issue because it is incorporated on the issue of integrity. And we know of situations where some arbitrators will pull a matter for a long period of time so that they can be able to charge more and more fees, which is an integrity issue by itself.
We must ensure that we do not compromise the ability of future generations to meet their needs as well. We tend to be differential and make sure that we are living a bit for them. So whether it is reducing the carbon footprint, whether it is being environmentally friendly, all these are things that we must do.
As the event drew to a close, the discussion shifted towards the future resilience of arbitration, tackling problematic clauses, and celebrating the next generation of practitioners through the inaugural NCIA Moot competition.
The legitimacy question in arbitration lies heavily on the users having trust in the parties, that is the arbitrators, and in the process. And should arbitration be perceived as biased, opaque, or inaccessible, it risks becoming irrelevant.
I think that it's important for lawyers to carefully draft these agreements and not to recklessly draft them without due regard to the obvious disadvantages that will flow from a flawed or a failed arbitration agreement.
The clause in the contract is the cornerstone of the arbitration.
Now, the essence of this conversation is to bring to our awareness that the clause sometimes is drafted in a way that defeats the object of arbitration. It makes, it triggers a lot of objections, triggers delay, triggers cost.
Arbitration just simply isn't best place to deal with those complex types of disputes. We have a process already in place that allows for these things to be resolved. It's called state courts.
The world is grappling with unprecedented environmental challenges, rapid technological advancements, and a global shift towards clean energy solutions. These forces are reshaping not only the way we live, but the way we resolve disputes, particularly in sectors that have historically been drivers of economic growth, but are now at the forefront of the global sustainability conversation. From climate change to the ethical use of technology, arbitration will need to continue evolving to remain relevant. The future resilience of arbitration will depend on our ability to respond to these challenges and to these changes, to innovate with our processes, and to ensure that arbitration remains an effective, efficient, and accessible method of resolving disputes.
5 days of intense dialogue, shared insights, and strengthened connections. Nairobi Arbitration Week 2025 underscored the critical need for arbitration to adapt, innovate, and embrace sustainability. The journey continues, demanding collaboration, ethical practice, and a commitment to building a resilient and trusted system for resolving disputes in Africa and beyond.